The person who ignores you may be fighting a battle you cannot see. They may be running from the very emotion they feel most deeply. But here is the truth that can change your life. Their silence is not your sentence. Their distance is not a measurement of your value. And the moment you stop begging for their attention is the moment you begin reclaiming your power. There are people who feel love and then become afraid of it. They crave connection, but when connection becomes real, when it begins to touch the places inside them that have been guarded for years, they retreat. They disappear. They become cold. They stop replying, not always because they feel nothing, but because feeling something can be overwhelming to a person who has learned to survive by shutting down. An avoidant person may pull away when the relationship begins to matter. They may create distance when they feel close. They may ignore you not because you are unimportant, but because your presence awakens emotions they do not know how to manage. And while they are sitting in silence trying to convince themselves they do not care, your name may be moving through their mind more than you realize. But do not confuse being thought about with being chosen. That is one of the most important lessons you will ever learn. Someone can miss you and still not be ready for you. Someone can love parts of you and still lack the courage to show up for you. Someone can think about you every night and still make choices that leave you feeling alone. Love is not only a feeling. Love is a decision. Love is a pattern. Love is the willingness to communicate when it is uncomfortable, to stay present when fear rises, to be honest when silence would be easier. A relationship cannot be built on hidden emotions alone. It is built through visible actions, sacred responsibility, and the courage to say, I am here. You must understand this. You are not called to chase people into emotional maturity. You are not here to prove that you are lovable to someone who only knows how to receive love from a far distance. You are not here to shrink your needs so another person can remain comfortable in their fear. You were created for connection that does not require you to lose yourself. When someone ignores you, your first instinct may be to reach harder, to send another message, to explain yourself one more time, to replay every conversation and ask, what did I do wrong? But that question can become a prison. It can turn your heart into a courtroom where you are always the one on trial. Stop putting yourself on trial for someone else's inability to communicate. Your worth did not decrease because they became distant. Your beauty did not disappear because they did not respond. Your heart did not become too much because they did not know how to hold it. The divine principle is simple. What is meant to grow in your life will not require you to betray your dignity to keep it alive. You can have compassion for their wounds without volunteering to become wounded by them. Maybe they think of you when they are alone. Maybe they remember your kindness when the room is quiet. Maybe they compare every new connection to the safety they felt with you. Maybe they regret the distance they created. But their private thoughts are not the foundation of your future. Their actions are. Do not build your life around potential. Build it around truth. The truth is revealed in consistency. The truth is revealed in effort. The truth is revealed when a person chooses clarity over confusion, presence over avoidance, and growth over excuses. A person who is ready for love does not have to be perfect. They do not have to have every wound healed, but they must be willing to speak, willing to learn, willing to take responsibility, willing to meet you in the middle. And if they are not willing, then your assignment is not to wait in emotional hunger. Your assignment is to rise into the understanding that peace is more valuable than mixed signals. Rise into the belief that you do not need to be chased to be worthy. Rise into the certainty that the right relationship will not make you question whether you matter every single day. There is a powerful shift that happens when you stop trying to force someone to see your value. You begin to see it yourself. You stop watching your phone for their message, and you start listening to the voice within you. You stop asking why they pulled away, and you start asking what kind of love you are available for now. That question changes everything. Because you are not powerless, you can choose boundaries. You can choose healing. You can choose to love without losing your center. You can choose to release the need for someone else's attention to validate your existence. And perhaps one day, that avoidant person will return. Perhaps they will recognize what they lost. Perhaps they will finally find the courage to speak the words they buried beneath their hoods. If that day comes, do not meet them from the version of yourself that was desperate for an answer. Meet them from the version of yourself that knows your standards. Ask yourself, have they changed or have they simply become lonely? Are they ready to build or are they only ready to return to what felt familiar? Are they bringing clarity, accountability, and consistency? Or are they bringing the same silence in a different package? Your heart deserves more than temporary attention. It deserves devotion. The more they ignore you, the more they may think of you, but your life cannot be paused while they figure out how to face their feelings. You have dreams to pursue, purpose to live, strength to develop, and a soul to protect. You have a calling bigger than someone's confusion. Let them think of you. Let them remember you. Let them wrestle with the distance they created. But you, keep becoming. Keep growing into the person who does not settle for half love. Keep becoming the person who honors their own heart. Keep walking with faith, knowing that what is aligned with your purpose will not demand that you abandon your peace. You do not need to chase what is meant to meet you. And when you truly understand that, you become free. Avoidance is often emotional overload, not a lack of feeling. This is one of the most misunderstood truths in relationships. Because when someone becomes distant, stops replying, or suddenly turns cold, the natural reaction is to assume they do not care. Your mind begins to create stories. I meant nothing to them. They found someone better. They never loved me. I was too much. But silence does not always mean emptiness. Sometimes silence is what happens when a person feels too much and has never learned how to carry it. For someone who has learned to protect themselves through distance, closeness can feel dangerous. Love can feel like a risk. Vulnerability can feel like exposure. Even when they want connection, a part of them may fear what connection will demand. They may fear being rejected, controlled, disappointed, abandoned, or seen too deeply. So when emotions become intense, their instinct is not always to move closer. Their instinct may be to retreat. That retreat can look confusing. One moment they are warm, engaged, affectionate, and present. The next moment they are quiet, unavailable, distracted, or emotionally unreachable. This creates a painful cycle for the person who cares about them. You begin to chase the version of them that made you feel wanted. You keep waiting for the warmth to return. You start believing that if you say the right thing, love them harder, become more patient, or ask for less, they will finally feel safe enough to stay. But emotional safety cannot be built by one person alone. You cannot heal someone's fear by sacrificing your own peace. You cannot convince someone to receive love if they are committed to running from it. You cannot make a person emotionally available simply because your heart is sincere. Their healing is their responsibility. Their willingness to face their patterns is their responsibility. Their choice to communicate instead of disappear is their responsibility. This does not mean you should become bitter or assume every distant person is cruel. It means you must learn to see clearly. Compassion is powerful. But compassion without boundaries becomes self-abandonment. You can understand that someone is overwhelmed without accepting behavior that keeps you in constant uncertainty. You can recognize that their distance may come from fear without allowing that fear to become the ruler of your emotional life. The deepest kind of love does not ask you to become smaller so another person can remain comfortable. It does not require you to ignore your needs, silence your voice, or accept crumbs while hoping for a feast. Healthy love makes room for honesty. It makes room for difficult conversations. It makes room for two people who are willing to grow, not one person doing all the emotional labor while the other hides behind silence. Sometimes an avoidant person thinks about you constantly while appearing completely stitched. They may replay your conversations. They may remember your kindness. They may miss the way you made them feel understood. Yet thinking of you is not the same as showing up for you. Feelings that remain hidden cannot create the relationship you deserve. A person must eventually turn emotion into action, intention into communication, and desire into consistency. Your job is not to decode every silence. Your job is to honor your own heart. Let their behavior give you information, not an identity. If they pull away, do not immediately decide that you are unworthy. Decide instead that you will remain rooted in your value. You can care deeply without chasing. You can love honestly without losing yourself. And you can walk forward knowing that the right connection will not make you beg for the basic sumptuary assurance that love is supposed to provide. Silence can become a coping mechanism when intimacy feels threatening. For some people, the moment a relationship begins to carry real emotional weight, Their nervous system does not interpret that closeness as safety, it interprets it as danger. They may want love, they may crave affection, they may even imagine a future with you, but when the relationship starts asking them to be vulnerable, accountable, and emotionally present, they can feel an internal pressure they do not know how to explain. This is why silence can be so misleading. From the outside, it looks like indifference. It looks like a lack of care. It looks like someone choosing to ignore you. But internally, they may be wrestling with fear, uncertainty, shame, or the belief that they will eventually disappoint you. Instead of expressing those emotions, they shut down. Instead of saying, "I feel overwhelmed," they disappear. Instead of saying, "I am scared of how much this means to me," they become distant. They may not even realize they are doing it. Many people learned early in life that emotions were inconvenient, unsafe, or unwelcome. Perhaps they grew up in an environment where feelings were dismissed. Perhaps they learned that needing others led to disappointment. Perhaps they were praised for being independent but never taught how to be emotionally open. Over time, silence became their protection. It became the place they went when life felt too intense. It became the wall they built before anyone could get close enough to hurt them. But the same wall that protects a person from pain can also keep love out. When someone uses silence as a shield, they may believe they are maintaining control. They may believe that pulling away gives them space to breathe. They may believe that avoiding the conversation prevents conflict. Yet unresolved silence does not create peace. It creates confusion. It leaves the other person questioning where they stand. It creates emotional distance where there could have been understanding. It turns a relationship into a guessing game, and no healthy relationship can thrive where one person is constantly forced to guess. This is where you must protect your own emotional well-being. You can be patient with someone who is learning to communicate, but patience should not require you to accept being shut out repeatedly. You can give someone room to process, but space should not become an excuse for disappearing without explanation. There is a difference between taking time to regulate emotions and using silence to avoid responsibility. A mature person can say, "I need some time, but I will come back to this conversation." That sentence carries respect. It creates reassurance. It tells you that the relationship still matters even when things feel difficult. But when silence has no communication, no accountability, and no return, it can become a pattern that drains your confidence and leaves you emotionally exhausted. You deserve a relationship where difficult moments are handled with courage. You deserve someone who does not punish you with distance when they feel afraid. You deserve someone who understands that love is not proven only in the easy moments. It is proven when discomfort arrives and both people choose honesty over escape. Do not take another person's silence as a command to chase them. Do not turn their withdrawal into a mission to prove your worth. Their fear may be real, but your needs are real too. You are allowed to want clarity. You are allowed to ask for communication. You are allowed to decide that love without emotional safety is not enough. The right kind of connection does not demand perfection, but it does require participation. It requires two people willing to step out from behind their defenses and meet each other with truth. Silence may have been their old survival strategy, but if they truly want a future with you, they must learn a new language, one built on presence, honesty, and the courage to remain connected when intimacy feels scary. Being ignored should never become permission to abandon your self-worth. When someone you care about becomes distant, your mind can quickly turn their behavior into a verdict about who you are. You may start questioning your appearance, your personality, your words, your timing, and your value. You may replay messages, conversations, and moments, searching for the exact point where you believe you became too much or somehow not enough. But another person's withdrawal is not a reliable measurement of your worth. It is information about their capacity, their choices, their emotional patterns, and their willingness to communicate. It is not a definition of you. The danger begins when you make their attention your source of emotional oxygen. When their message makes your day and their silence destroys it, you have handed someone else the power to determine how you feel about yourself. That is not love. That is emotional dependence disguised as devotion. Real love should add to your life, not become the only place where you feel alive, secure, or valuable. You were valuable before they noticed you. You were worthy before they chose you. You were complete before they entered your life, and you remain complete even if they decide to leave it. This does not mean you do not feel pain. It does not mean rejection does not hurt. It means pain is not proof that you have lost your identity. You can grieve a connection and still remember who you are. You can miss someone and still refuse to chase them. You can feel disappointed and still choose dignity. There is strength in refusing to beg for basic respect. There is strength in saying, I care about you, but I will not keep hurting myself trying to earn your presence. That statement is not cold. It is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that your heart is not a place people can visit only when it is convenient for them. When you are ignored, you may feel tempted to send more messages, explain yourself again, or try to become easier to love. But the more you abandon your needs to keep someone close, the more disconnected you become from yourself. You start accepting less than you deserve. You tolerate uncertainty that makes you anxious. You excuse patterns that make you feel small. You begin to believe that love must be earned through patience, sacrifice, and endless understanding. But healthy love does not ask you to erase yourself. It does not ask you to silence your feelings so someone else can avoid discomfort. It does not ask you to accept inconsistency as romance. It does not ask you to live in fear of saying the wrong thing. Love that is right for you may challenge you, but it will not constantly make you question whether you matter. Your self-worth must become stronger than your desire for a particular person's approval. That is where freedom begins. When you know your value, you can still care deeply without losing your center. You can give someone space without putting your life on hold. You can accept that they may be confused, afraid, or emotionally unavailable without making it your responsibility to rescue them. The divine principle is that you are not meant to be diminished by love. You are meant to be strengthened by it. The right relationship will not require you to become a stranger to yourself. It will invite you to become more honest, more grounded, more secure, and more alive. It will not make you chase shadows when you were created to walk in clarity. So if someone ignores you, let their silence reveal what it reveals. Do not fight for a place in a life that refuses to make room for you. Return to yourself. Return to your purpose. Return to the people, dreams, and habits that remind you of your strength. Your value is not waiting in someone else's reply. It is already within you, and no silence can take it away. Real connection requires communication, consistency, and emotional courage. It is not built only through chemistry, attraction, late-night conversations, or the intense feeling of missing someone. Those things can be powerful, but they are not enough to sustain a relationship when life becomes difficult. A real connection is revealed when two people are willing to remain present, speak honestly, and take responsibility for the impact they have on each other. Communication is not simply talking, it is the willingness to tell the truth before resentment grows. It is the ability to say, I am hurt without attacking. It is the courage to say, I need space without disappearing. It is the maturity to say, I was wrong without making excuses. When communication is healthy, both people feel safer because they do not have to guess what the other person is thinking. They do not have to read between the lines, decode silence, or fear that every difficult moment will lead to emotional abandonment. A person can be quiet and still communicate well. A person can need time alone and still be deeply committed. The difference is clarity. Someone who values the relationship does not leave you in confusion. They may say, I need a day to process this, but I care about you and I will talk to you tomorrow. That one sentence can protect trust because it creates a bridge instead of a wall. It tells you that space is not rejection and that discomfort is not the end of the relationship. Consistency is equally important. Love cannot survive on occasional intensity. It cannot be built on a pattern where someone is deeply affectionate one week and emotionally absent the next. Consistency means their words and actions begin to match. It means you are not constantly wondering which version of them will show up. It means they do not only make you feel important when they are lonely, bored, or afraid of losing you. They show care through regular effort, thoughtful behavior, and a steady willingness to participate in the relationship. Consistency does not mean perfection. Every person has difficult days, stress, fears, and moments when they do not show up exactly as they wish they could. But a consistent person repairs. They come back to the conversation. They acknowledge what happened. They make an effort to do better. They do not use their struggles as a permanent excuse to leave you carrying the emotional weight alone. Then there is emotional courage. This may be the rarest quality of all. Emotional courage is the ability to stay open when it would be easier to shut down. It is the willingness to face uncomfortable feelings instead of escaping them. It is choosing to have the difficult conversation rather than allowing silence to create distance. It is admitting fear without allowing fear to control every decision. Many people want the comfort of love, but they are not ready for the responsibility of love. They want to be understood, but they do not want to explain themselves. They want loyalty, but they avoid accountability. They want closeness, but they pull away when closeness requires vulnerability. Emotional courage changes that pattern. It says, I may be afraid, but I will not let fear become an excuse to hurt someone who cares about me. This is the kind of connection you deserve. Not a relationship where you are always trying to earn reassurance, but one where reassurance is given freely through honest communication and consistent actions. Not a relationship where you are punished with silence, but one where both people are willing to work through discomfort with respect. Not a relationship where one person carries all the emotional responsibility, but one where both people are committed to growth. When you begin to value communication, consistency, and emotional courage, you stop being impressed by empty promises. You stop confusing attention with commitment. You stop believing that intense feelings are enough. You begin to recognize that the strongest love is not always the loudest love. It is the love that stays honest, stable, and present. It is the love that chooses connection again and again, especially when doing so requires courage. Your power returns when you stop chasing answers and start choosing peace. There comes a point in every painful connection when you realize that no explanation will ever be enough if the person's actions continue to create confusion. You may want them to tell you why they changed, why they pulled away, why they ignored you, why they made promises they could not keep, or why they made you feel so important and then so invisible. Those questions are understandable. Your heart wants clarity because clarity feels like closure, but sometimes the answer is already present in the pattern. If someone repeatedly leaves you uncertain, repeatedly avoids honest conversations, repeatedly makes you feel like you must earn their attention, then their behavior is communicating something. It may not be the explanation you hoped for, but it is still information. You do not need to keep searching for hidden meaning when the reality is standing in front of you. The moment you accept what their actions are showing you, you begin to release the exhausting need to chase a different outcome. Choosing peace does not mean pretending you never cared. It does not mean shutting down your emotions or becoming cold. It means deciding that your emotional well-being is no longer negotiable. It means understanding that you can love someone and still recognize that their presence in your life is costing you too much. You can miss them and still move forward. You can wish them healing and still refuse to be the place where they practice hurting people. Peace is not passive. Peace is a decision. It is a boundary. It is the moment you stop checking your phone every few minutes hoping their name will appear. It is the moment you stop rewriting messages in your mind. It is the moment you stop trying to become more convenient, more patient, less emotional, or easier to ignore. Peace begins when you stop making yourself responsible for someone else's inability to show up. You must understand that chasing answers can become a way of avoiding your own healing. As long as you are focused on what they meant, what they felt, what they might do next, you do not have to face the deeper question, what do I need now? That question can be uncomfortable because it requires you to turn your attention back toward yourself. It requires you to acknowledge the pain you have tolerated. It requires you to choose a new standard for what love must look like in your life. Maybe you need rest. Maybe you need distance. Maybe you need to reconnect with your purpose, your friendships, your faith, your work, your health, and the dreams you placed on hold while waiting for someone else to become clear. Maybe you need to remember that your life is not supposed to shrink around another person's uncertainty. The divine principle is that peace is not something another person gives you. It is something you protect. It is something you cultivate through the choices you make every day. You protect it when you honor your boundaries. You protect it when you stop accepting mixed signals as proof of love. You protect it when you choose people who communicate, people who respect your heart, and people whose presence brings steadiness instead of constant anxiety. There is a version of you on the other side of this confusion who no longer needs to chase. That version of you understands that love should not feel like a test you are always failing. That version of you knows that being chosen is not about someone sending a message after days of silence. It is about someone making a consistent decision to be present in your life. When you choose peace, you do not lose your capacity to love. You refine it. You stop giving your deepest energy to people who only offer uncertainty. You become more available for relationships that honor your heart, your time, and your truth. You begin to trust that what is meant for you will not require you to abandon yourself to keep it. Your power is not in making them understand what they lost. Your power is in remembering what you deserve. And when you finally choose peace over chasing, you create space for a love that does not make you question your worth, your place, or your future. Thank you for sharing this moment of growth. May you choose your peace, honor your worth, and keep moving toward the love you deserve. Goodbye for now. And remember, your strongest chapter begins the moment you stop chasing and start believing in yourself.